I just thought that I'll just go right away to sleep. But surprisingly, I could not sleep at all, right, on that day. And then I got worried about if I do not sleep well, I'm not going to do well tomorrow.
Welcome, guys, to a new episode of the IIT podcast with Somnath, your host. And today we have a very unique character and a unique story. He's my friend Nikhil. I've not known him from IIT days because he's one of the very few people I know who is not from KGP. He's from IIT Delhi. And partly because of my ignorance that I did not know about many IIT cultures. And so we'll try to find out a little bit from Nikhil. So welcome, Nikhil, to a new episode of IT Podcast.
Yeah, thanks, Soma. Thanks for inviting me. I think like we know through our wives, right? Both of our wives are friends, so in a sense, we are just friends-in-law. And I think this will also be a very good opportunity for me to think about the past. Like I'm not a person who looks back ever, right?
Mhm.
I spend very less time thinking about the past. I just look forward. So mostly, I will. This will also allow me to maybe remember some of the past stories or past memories that I've had. So yeah, thank you for inviting me.
Yeah. So the podcast will broadly be divided into three levels. One is life before IIT, then life at IIT, and then again life beyond IIT. So we'll start with the first section, which is life before IIT. So very pointed question would be, how were you as a student when you were young? Did you already know that you're bright and you have great marks at school level? Let's say I'm not talking about the ninth or tenth, maybe below that standard or fifth to sixth standard.
Yeah, starting from primary school, like, I think I had been acing like my classes like
Mhm.
in school at least. Right, there were like multiple sections, so at least in my section I used to be a topper and used to score very good. So if you question me about about whether I consider myself bright, I used to consider myself the brightest. So uh, those misconceptions get cleared once you get into IIT. But yeah, at that point, I think I was a good student. I was very disciplined, and study was the only thing that I knew. So that is, I used to pour all my heart into those things. And I used to be very curious as well, like not just the material that was taught in the school, but otherwise as well, like whatever information was present, right? I used to read a lot of books, general knowledge, build my general knowledge, read newspapers. So all of that interested me at that time.
Yeah, very nice. So we'll come to the next question, which is when did you come to know about IIT, like a thing that exists, elite institutions, and how did you start preparing for that?
I think, yeah, I had most likely heard about it in my fourth or fifth standard.
Yeah.
And because the people I was surrounded with, right? I did not hear it about it in my family circles, but through my friend circle in school, right? We
Mhm.
used to talk about it. What are the future options we have? I don't know why we were worried about that, but I think people used to discuss that if you get into IIT, the first career option you will earn a lot. So at that time, the figure that we came about for was about of rupees 50,000 per month. That
Mhm.
looked like a lot. That is the what we are going to make when we start. So yeah, that was our goal at the time. But yeah, not because just like as we matured and we started talking about what all topics and courses are taught at IIT, we used to
Mhm.
discuss that a lot, and some of the things interested us. But yeah, mostly we used to talk about astronomy
Mhm.
and space exploration. I did not study anything about that in IIT, but yeah, that was one of the starting points which got me intrigued into getting into IIT.
Okay. And you grew up in Rajasthan, like
Right.
in Ajmer, and it is very close to Kota.
Hmm.
And Kota is famous or infamous for bringing up children
Hmm.
to study and focus for IIT, also other exams, but mainly IIT. And it has kind of become a factory or a Kota factory, you could say. Uh,
Hmm.
but you did not go to Kota. So was
Yeah.
that a conscious decision from your or your family's side?
Yeah, I think I did not struggle much with this vision of taking up. coaching or studying in the for the 11th and 12th standard in Ajmer, right? I had confidence in my capabilities, maybe too much at the time, right? Even in 9th and 10th, I did not take any coaching when I think almost all of the students in my school were taking some coaching classes, right? And I think there were three of us who did not go to coaching, and we three were the toppers in our own
Okay.
section, and only the three of us made to IIT eventually. So people had been working hard to prepare for IIT, starting from 8th, 9th, 10th, because that kind, like there was some coaching institute that used to teach only till 10th class. So they used to do a lot of marketing, right? And everybody that people in Ajmer or like middle class have a very high aspiration. They do want, like they will pour extra amount of money and get their child the best kind of education they can, right? So that used to happen, and almost it was a no-brainer at that time to join a coaching institute, right? Schooling is there, but you have nothing else to do, right? Study is the only thing you're supposed to do, so why not do this thing also? But for me, it was like I decided I did not need that. So till 10th, I did not join any coaching. And even after that, I was assured that maybe whatever institute we have in Ajmer would be good enough for me. I know for a fact now that institutes in Kota or their teaching methodology, like even in Delhi, Hyderabad, are like have a much better teaching methodologies than we had. But I was not aiming for AR1 or so, right? I just wanted to qualify into IIT. And during the preparation time, I did not even know like what it means to have different ARs, what AR1 means, what AR100 means, right? What will be the different streams that you can choose. So during that 2 year period, I did not think much about that. Maybe that was a mistake on my part. But yeah, I was self-assured and I did not put much thought to it. But yeah, definitely my friends, particularly my father, did put a lot of thought whether to send me or not. And he like they knew that I'm not mature enough to live in such a situation. I'm glad they made that decision because it's not like preparation can't be anything, right? Those 2 years also mean a lot to you, right? They shape a lot of who you are later in your life. So you have to live those 2 years well as well, right? And once you leave your hometown, right? Like I've left, I have not spent much time in Ajmer at all, right? Once I left the city, there is my all of my education and career opportunity have been outside Ajmer, right? So why not use those 2 years? Because those 2 years mean a lot, right? So they also took a conscious decision that it will be too much for me, and education isn't the everything. My father wasn't worried about that I get into IIT. He knew the my capabilities or caliber, like whatever I do best, I'll get into a good college. If not IIT, maybe something else. But he was not too pressed on into getting me into IIT, right? And then there are other factors as well, right? Like if there is any health concern, if you are not able to live well, if you are depressed, you will not even be able to talk about it, right? How will you even be able to handle such high pressure under those circumstances, right? So he didn't want me to expose to those things. So that is why we took a decision so that, and we knew a couple of folks who were preparing from the other institutes, right? So we did talk to them. We heard very good response from them. Like a lot of, they had a lot of respect for the teachers there, and they said a good, they put a good word about them to us. So I took a decision that yeah, this is one of the institute that I can join, and that is what I did.
Yeah.
In hindsight, I think it was for the best. Maybe I have a bias because I did get into IIT. Maybe I could have gotten much better rank if I had gone to Kota, but that doesn't matter now, right? There are definitely the number of people going into Kota have a higher chance of getting into IIT, right? But yeah, I do have a bias since I didn't face rejection. But if that had been the case, then maybe the story would be completely different.
Any interesting stories that you remember while preparing for IITs or even during school time, which helped you significantly, realize your potential, or maybe real, something could be funny as well, like you found out something about yourself which
Yeah.
helped you later on.
Yeah. So I think all of my teachers and my family had a lot of confidence in my capability. They used to appreciate me a lot, I think more than that I needed or deserved. But then that built a lot of my confidence, right? And that allowed me to aim for this exam. But then, yeah, there was a lot of competitive environment in our school as well, right? Like I was just talking about, other people used to go to coaching and they used to learn stuff that was never taught in school, right? Even things that were taught in 11th or 12th, things were taught to them, and they used to bring those topics, those questions to me as a challenge. Like, you are the topper, try to solve it. And I, surprisingly, I was able to, right? Especially, like, I used to struggle in physics, definitely, but yeah, in maths, I used to be able to do that. So that also created a lot of confidence that these guys are, don't know what curriculum they are studying and why they are doing so, but I am able to do it. So uh, on my own. And from that point, although I was very interested in knowing more about 11th and 12th uh, class curriculum, right? And I had my cousins, my sister who senior to me, who had those books available. So I used to start during my board exam. I was just reading physics for 11th class. I don't know why, because I was during the gap that we have into exams, right? Once I was done with my preparation, I used to read about that, and people would be like, why are you doing so? I, but at that point I was like, I just want to enjoy life. I want to do something else other than studying. I just wanted 10th board exams to be over
Mhm.
and start preparing for 11th also. So that is what I had started doing even in 10th class. I do remember one instance in my school days. I was in 7th class, so there used to be a chapter in geography about water currents. So water currents flow in this direction, that direction. That was just taught in the class, and what the teacher did was, you just read through the chapter. First of all, I did not even used to know the meaning of half of the words that were there, and there was no concept or logic told, right? And there were so many water streams. How am I supposed to learn about it? So before a day, I couldn't remember it at all, right? Because I could not, without any logic, how am I supposed to even remember it? So I was in a very panic situation, right? My father even said that if you don't want to give the exam, just skip it. That was like, I can still relate to that moment, and I have never been that panicked in my entire life. So I had a friend uh, in my colony. I just went there. I thought, let's see what he is doing. So he did not used to score that well. Like, I used to score well, but I was just worried. I right, and of losing some marks. Like, passing was not a concern. I was just wanted to do really well, and I just thought that I'll just go to his house. He was not there in the house. He was just playing cricket. He had not even started studying. So seeing him, I was like, okay, I can relax now. If he is not studying, then why am I so worried about that? He was enjoying the moment. Like, he could also have been worried, but even if I was prepared, I was just taking life too hard. So I realized that it taught me a lesson that I should just lighten up and just see what happens the next day.
Yeah.
And
Apart
eventually, I did
from
very well in that exam. So that was also surprising to me. I think I had the highest marks again, but then I hate that subject and I hate that teacher for not being able to explain the concept. Then later on, after years, recently I had watched one YouTube video from Khan sir on those, and all of my concepts are clear. I finally know how those water currents work.
was there any conflict between attendance at school versus attendance at institute?
Yeah, that school attendance was not much of a problem
Mhm.
for me, for the reasons you may understand. That I had changed my schooling
Mhm.
there, and the school that I have joined was more conducive to my preparation for IIT, right? So were all they just wanted the fees. You give them the timely fees. If you need any assistance, they would help you out. But yeah, they would never interfere with your preparation. I still had to go to school, but then yeah, it was not much of a problem.
There comes a time, let's say we are in year seventh or eighth standard, then there's a small jump to ninth and tenth is a little different. Then there is a significant jump from 10th to 11th. Like for me personally, it was a huge jump. And how did you cope up with it? You said that you had already started preparing, at least from physics angle. Did you find it easy, or how was it different from, let's say, 10th boards to 11th?
Yeah, it gets a bit confusing once you start 11th, right? Because I started studying from the IIT curriculum, right? Whatever material you used to be provided with coaching. But when you open the NCERT book, it's completely different stuff. It's hard to grasp. It's more theory than you would like to read, and you have to always balance the two, right? And there are other subjects as well, right? Like your languages, they don't get a lot of like you don't give a lot of time to them, and then suddenly you do have to give exam, right? So that used to worry me a lot.
How was the IIT exam day like for you? So I remember in our time it was like April 10th, 2011 that we sat for the
Hmm.
exam. It was just after
Hmm.
India had won their World Cup. So how was the day like for you?
Yeah, I do remember that day clearly, right? And 10th of April was a special day for me as well. I'll tell you later maybe. So I just thought that I'll just wake up in the morning the next day and go for the exam. There was not much in my mind, and I had been sleeping very well in the previous day, so I just thought that I'll just go right away to sleep. But surprisingly, I could not sleep at all. Right, I did not have any worries in my mind. I was not thinking about it, but somehow I was not able to sleep. Right, on that day, and then I got worried about if I do not sleep well, I'm not going to do well tomorrow. Certainly, right? And sleep is one of the things that I had struggled before as well. Like I used to sleep well during the night, but I was used to support sleep during the daytime as well. Like I needed a nap, which was not possible at the time of exam, right? Our exam used to be in two sessions of 3 hours each, so there was no way I could sleep in the middle of the day. So I very through very hard work, I got turned myself into an addict to avoid that uh, habit at all, right? So I was like, if I do not sleep well, I'm not going to do it, and that started worrying me. At some point, I just went to sleep. So and the center was also in my city, so that reaching there was not much of a problem. So I did go to the exam center, saw other people what they were doing. You don't need more than a pen and a pencil in the exam, but I saw many people had complete geometry box. I was like, what are you doing? It's a completely new location, right? The clock may not work, the fan does not work, there is disturbance, the teacher keeps on talking. It's a large room, it's not all silent. So those things also worry you, right? How will I focus in the exam? But once it starts, when the bell rings, uh, nothing else comes to your mind. So that went really well. The first session really well went, and I was really relaxed for the second session. And thankfully, my father brought his car with lunch, so I had hot lunch. I just slept in the car, so one of my concerns were alleviated, and then I had some tea for the next session. So then I gave the next session. It also went really well. I was very hopeful that it really went well. So 10th of April was my brother's birthday as well. So after that, it was just celebration. It was like I had crossed a very important milestone, and it's just party time now.
Okay. So मतलब
So
any sense of relief was in after the exam?
yes, even after the very first session, I was very relieved. I knew confident that in the second session would also go well. So even after that, I was a bit relieved. But yeah, once the exam had ended, I was um, like, there is nothing that I had to do at that point. There was no burden. You feel very light after that.
Coming to the day that you finally found out that you had cracked IT and
Hmm.
the results were coming out. So what was that day like and how did you find out?
I think you will be shocked to know that I think that was one of the saddest day of my life because like I said, right, during the 2 years preparation, right, I was not too much into what rank I would get, right. Maybe towards the end we had started talk about that you can get this rank, 500 rank is a very good rank, or maybe 1,000 rank, get such a rank. And even after giving the exam, you do a lot of research, like what rank can I get, what college would I get, what are the courses. So during that time, that entire period is used for that, and you build a lot of hopes. So I did get a good marks in the JEE exam of 2011, but the problem with that was everybody got very good marks. Like the cutoff was very high, so I did not get as good a rank as I hoped for. So that one day was I felt really bad, but I think uh, it was just it did get better a lot
Mhm.
afterwards. Like once I started filling up the forms, started opting for various courses, like the counseling we had, and the results were also very good. So I think things only got better after that. It's a
Yeah.
really big day for the coaching institutes. Definitely, they would invite. They have to publish your picture in the newspapers. They will put garlands on you. It's like uh, you are the VIP in that day, right? People like you are who have cracked the IT. So definitely there is a there are celebrations. They will invite other bands also to play. There will be dancing, and that is the only day they will also allow you to do such a thing, right? But before that, once you enroll in, right, starting from 11, they would not even say that you are allowed to watch TV or go out, take a holiday. They would not, right? They would recommend against it. But that day it's completely different. So you would see those smiles that you hadn't seen on the faces of your teachers and also the students, the way they celebrate that lively feeling. You will observe it only on that day, right? Because before that, everything has been about studies, right? But that day is completely different.
Okay. And how did you get to choose which IIT to go into and what stream to pick?
Right. So, like if you had asked me this question, right, maybe in 11th or 12th, I would have just said mechanical engineering, right? Because that is the only thing I understood, right? I did not know anything about computer. I did not even have a personal computer at that time. So I did not know, like, we did have a computer lab, and but what is a computer engineer, what he does, or I had very less clue. Does an electrical engineer do? I had no clue. I had no interest to know about that. So mechanics is what interested me, right? And when it came to choosing the streams, right, I think my father put in a lot of work. Like what he did was there was very less people who could advise us what to take. Right, we did reach out to some of the people who were there in IIT, even from Ajmer. We did reach out to them, but I think I'm sad to say that they gave us wrong advice at that moment. Right, they started to, because computer science is a very rigorous course in IIT, right? So they started to put this fear that if you choose this stream, you might not be able to survive. It is very tough, right? So I was also like, okay, I'm not that intelligent, and I did not get the numbers that I was supposed to in IIT. So maybe he is right. But my father has again had confidence in my capability, and he was like, you see the cutoff that is there for different branches, right? You just fill whatever is filled by other people, right? Maybe we do not know a lot, but others do. Like everyone in India who is preparing for this competition are smart, whatever they are filling, right? Then we could see that computer science is being filled first in IIT Bombay and IIT Delhi, then the electrical branch in both the institutes. So that is how we also thought, okay, let's do that. I was like, okay, I do not want to do that. I will just maybe fill mechanical first or electrical. But then we took that decision that we'll do so, and that is how I got computer science. So in hindsight, again, that came out to be a very good decision. Delhi, right? The friends I made, the career I have. So keeping that in mind, I wouldn't have changed anything at all. And about the IIT, like choosing IIT Delhi was basically it was the nearest to my hometown, right? That was the only IIT at that point that was very near. So even my grandfather, my grandparents didn't want to send me very far off. They wanted to keep me very near, so that because from Delhi I could easily travel by train or bus at any time. But for other IITs there was no such option, right? You would It would take at least a day to travel, or you have to take a flight. But then there were no airports in Ajmer at the time, so that was also something that my family had a huge say in what to do. And I
Okay.
was also inclined towards IIT Delhi, right? I my metric of comparing IIT was just checking their square footage, right? I was used to be like, just 350 acres of land. This is the smallest IIT, and Kharagpur is the largest. So
Bigger
yeah, I
is
used to
better.
compare on yeah, I used to compare on those metrics. But then yeah, I did not have any problem going to IIT Delhi because that also was one of the very premier interest institutes.
let's say you found out the results, then you have a time period of 2 months, 2.5 months before you get into uh, the courses and starting your life at IIT. So, what was the first day like when you entered through the IIT Delhi gate? Like, what was the first day like? Did you find it intimidating, or was it just normal institute?
Yeah, we took a train
Hmm.
from Ajmer to Delhi, and it was a early morning train, and we did very early in the morning because the hostel rooms had to be allotted. We
Hmm.
had to reach early for that. I wanted to get the best room. It turned out all the rooms are one and the same. But then when you enter the college campus, right? So from Delhi, the main gate and hostels are located very far. And when you take that right, I realized that it's a very big campus, right? Uh, much bigger than I had expected, right? It was supposed to be the smallest one, IIT Delhi campus, but it was not. So 350 acres again is a lot. Uh, but yeah, the initial days were like mostly it's a mix of euphoria and also getting overwhelmed, right? Because tons of information is thrown at you. There are some sessions that are meant to for you to get prepared for the education. So it's like there will be sessions around how to take off your health, how to manage studies. If you need any help, you can consider uh, in-house psychologist, right? And also for parents that you keep in touch with your children and how to be able to assess whether he's performing well or not, right? All that stuff and how to cope up with the very first year of the IT. So all of that information in itself, you feel great because you hearing those that information very big lecture halls, AC lecture halls that for that matter, and then um, that did give me a lot of feeling. But then once you start seeing the other people that are there with you, right? You realize they are just talking about computers, and I don't know anything about computers, but then they are talking about so many terms that I don't even know about, right? It becomes a lot, and I started to maybe I have chosen a wrong subject. I should not have gotten into it, but yeah, that was again one of the stupid things that I thought.
And how did you feel the IIT culture was like in Delhi? Like by culture, I think there's the aspect of food, there's the aspect of competition, there's the aspect of cultural activities going on at the same time, lots of
Hmm.
pests as well. So we'll come one by one. Let's say food, for example.
Yeah, so food in the initial days did look great because even if the taste is not good, you have a lot of choices, right? There is a lot of variety that you might not get at home. So from that angle, it looks like you are well being well fed, right? And all of the essential options, right? Milk is being considered the single greatest food in our culture, so that is available. You can drink as much as you want. Banana, butter, you have all of that. So it looks like a great set menu, but then over time it gets repetitive, you get bored about it, and you feel like it's not as tasty as it could have been made. So it takes time, but yeah, in the initial days you do feel that the food is great, and maybe it is because the parents are also with you, the butlers are supposed to do a good job, otherwise they are going to hear from them. And maybe in the initial days they are also jolly, uh, but yeah, but let's at any point of time, like they definitely used to take a care. Like I wouldn't say maybe the food wasn't that great, but they used to take care of the uh, students a lot, right? They used to be very friendly. At least in our mess, they used to be very friendly and very respectful, and we used to be very respectful for them as well. Like someone who prepares your food, you have to give them some
Respect.
level of respect.
One more question which I just wanted to ask was how was Delhi like apart from IIT? So you had easy access to the city, and how was life at Ajmer versus life at Delhi?
Right. So Delhi was a very big city, right? I was surprised to like in Ajmer or anybody, any other place in the world, if you ask an auto driver to drive you to some place, they would know the place. In Delhi, that used to be the case that they wouldn't even know. They wouldn't know what that place is. I used to be surprised that you are driving auto and you do not even know. But then the public transport system that was there was really great in Delhi, right? Both the buses and the metro system. So that allowed us to explore uh, Delhi, right? There was actually a lot of things to explore in Delhi, right? Which is not the case in other small towns. You know everything you have visited, and you know what's going to be there. But that is not the case in Delhi. There's always a lot of things that you can do and a lot of places to explore. So that is how I saw it. Yeah, it was one of the big cities, right? Uh, so yeah, I definitely enjoyed that vibe also.
Any favorite food that you picked up?
We used to go regularly to eat parathas.
Mhm.
So I knew that Moorthal Paratha near Delhi is very famous, but for us it used to be a stall in the Moolchand metro station. So we used to call it Moolchand Paratha, and we used to go there quite frequently. In the final year, at least, we had started to go there, and that was one of the best things. Right, you would not found that kind of parathas anywhere else in India, I would say.
Okay, nice. And I'm assuming that this was the first time you were staying away from home. How was that
Yes.
transition like?
Yeah, the initial week, I think the very first week was a bit hard. Like I didn't think that I would miss my home at all, but that was not the case. I did miss. I used to get emotional. I before that time I did not used to listen to songs, right? There were very less distraction during my preparation, but like I started listening to songs. I had a phone, and in Delhi the FM is good, and even you could download songs and listen to it. So I started to realize the power of music, right? Song, even if you do not understand it, make always makes you feel good. So that is something that helped you a lot. And then other people are also going through the same cycle, right? Everybody is trying to connect with you, and they want to talk to you. So after some time, it get better. Your seniors are also welcoming, right? More than sometimes more than you would want them to be, right? They definitely want to uh, talk to you, pass their time, pass their own time, and teach you about their culture, make you train you for the big things in life. So that is also something that happens in used to happen at my time at IIT. But yeah, ragging was not much of a problem, as I would say. Right, you could always refuse it. Overall, uh, I was really happy until the first sem started. Like the first exam started, right? So we used to have two minors and one major. So at the time, I realized that a month is a very small period. Like it the first exam came too quickly. I was not at all prepared. Schedule for the freshers is tightly packed. It starts from 8 a.m. and it will go until 4 to 5 p.m. Right? You would have some other lab, and it's the most tightly packed, right? So the academic life itself would keep you very busy. You don't have much to think about, and I think that is a good thing for the initial days. But yeah, on Saturday and Sunday, you have all the free time in the world. You start to like this culture of 2 days, like that is from where you start to get into 5 days a week work day culture, right?
Okay, and then there's the culture in IT about fest as well. So how did you enjoy
Yeah, we have the cultural fest is rendezvous,
it?
right? First of all, very even hard to spell it out, right? It's spelled RENDEZVOUS. The name in itself was very uh, like created a kind of curiosity in us, right? And everybody used to talk about that those are the best times in IIT. Those are the times of holiday. You don't have to worry about exams. The classes do get cancelled, and people from other institute, other colleges in Delhi come and participate. There are competitions there. You should attend, and also various bands would come from all over the world, right? And people would perform. So you should take a feel of that, like because you are getting that experience uh, without any, you do not have to buy a ticket, right? It's
Yeah.
free for you. So it's a great experience, the very first experience you get about those kind of performances. And also all of this is managed by the students. So you also think that maybe I can get into it, do some of the work because everything is sponsored. You get the money, right? You just have to manage things. So that experience is also very enjoyable because for the very first time you get to do something outside of studies, right? You're doing something that is affecting others. at the same time.
So first feel of responsibility while managing
Yeah.
something for others.
Yeah, it used to look stupid. Like, why do you want to do this? Just hire somebody and
Mm.
event manager, they would do it. But yeah, the budget used to be tight. Everything was had to be managed by student. It was a big responsibility. People used to make a lot of out of it. Right? It used to be one of the things that they used to highlight in resume. Right?
Would you describe yourself as a responsible child when you were young versus taking on responsibilities for much bigger projects once you got into IT?
Yes, yes, definitely. Like I said that you get a lot of appreciation, right? Sometimes undeserved appreciation. So I used to be then like I'm a very good boy, right? Maybe even if I'm not, even if I have evil thoughts, I would be able to fight those off, right? But in IT, you get to be what you are, right? You get to be free. You can express yourself freely. You can talk with others. Others also have the same kind of feeling or thoughts that you can share. So that notion of you being like everything about you being good gets thrown away, right? You realize that like those years in college are the time where you know get to know about yourself. You know who you really are. Up till then, you have been protected. You live the life in a way that has been decided by your family. You have very less options to do. But when you get freedom, right, that is when it provides you a chance to define yourself, right? Sorry, I lost the original question. What was the question?
Like when you did you hit the responsibility
Well,
make
yeah,
you
whether I was
responsible?
yeah, yeah, I always consider myself responsible for that matter.
Mhm.
Like I used to take each and every thing that was assigned to me. Like you could depend on me,
Mhm.
and that is the kind of aura I used to maintain. Right? If I'm there in any group project also, right, I would do good. Like even if others are not doing, I will the project will get completed. It will be delivered in time.
That continues to this day, by the way.
Yeah,
Okay.
if I want to relax, I do not want to do anything. It would just worry me. Like not doing stuff pains me a lot more than just getting it done.
So you spent 5 years in IT. So what was the transition like from say first year to the fifth year? Like how did you grow? One part was responsibility increased a little bit. Uh, from a course point of view, also like how did you manage those 5 years?
Yeah, for the first 2 years, I think the very first 2 years are where you are the most stupid, right? You know nothing else, right? But in by second year, you know a little bit about IIT, about outside life, so that you start forming your opinion, but you do not know everything, right? So if you are talking to anyone who is in second year or first year or taking their advice, it will most likely be going to be wrong. That is how it was supposed to be. But then with time you get matured, you see a lot of stuff, you talk to more people, you learn a lot from them. So that transition starts from third year onwards, right? When you start seeing, okay, the coursework has increased, the course that we are doing actually matters now, because in the very first year in IIT Delhi, there used to be a mix of subjects, right? Computer science is not the only thing that you are supposed to learn about, and the curriculum used to be the same for almost all the branches, right? There not used to be much difference. So it used to be different, but then you start choosing your own path. You can choose the course that interests you. Yeah, you have optionals even within your stream, but outside stream also. If you are interested in economics, you can learn about that. If literature interests you, you can choose the courses that interest you and take those. So you start forming one of your identity, right? You have to see how I can manage time, how can I plan. Some of the planning needs to be taken some time before you take the actual course, right? Because there are always prerequisites for some of the courses. So you have to get them done uh, uh, before being able to choose that course in your desired semester, right? So that level of planning had to be done. And yeah, towards the final, it gets a lot more easier. One thing is, I had mine was a dual degree course. So some of the friends you have in hostel, right, they do leave after 4 years. So you get a bit lonely. You are uh, everything is just about computer because only the computer dual degree students are left. You don't have very good friends were there with you for 4 years. You get to know about them, how they are doing in life actually, right? How they are doing in career, what's corporate is actually like. You start to hear about the good and the bad, and keeping that in mind, you also start preparing for your own placements, right? But yeah, once that is done, I think the final is a bit is when you get a lot of time. That was, I think, one of the most enjoyable
Mhm.
years I had, right? Because of a lot of free time, and also you do have some money in hand. In my case, like we also gave an exam for GATE. It was not mandatory because we were already qualified for masters, but to do that, you get a stipend as well. So we used to have some good amount of money in our hand, uh, which we were able to put good use of. So yeah, that definitely made the final is a bit more enjoyable.
And you had your final year as a thesis year as well, like a big project that you had to submit. So how was that like compared to, let's say, a BTech project, and how does the MTech project differ?
Yeah, so BTech project, a lot of the assignments and projects that you do, there is a defined objective, right? That is the goal that you achieve, and almost everybody is doing the same one and the same thing. And you know where the finish line is at, right? At the end, you just have to make it presentable. You just have to give a demo. It may or may not be usable as such, but once you do the presentation, you are graded, it's done. But that is not the case for your thesis, right? It has to be something substantial, right? It might be presentable to the outside world as well. It might be something solving a like it might be a real industrial problem that something looking for you to solve. So it can be just a jugaad, right? It it has to be thoroughly tested. It has to be a very good quality. Yeah, that is the difference I would say. It has, and it is a long term, right? You have to learn about various aspects of it. In the initial projects, right? You do not get a lot of your professor's bandwidth, right? It's not one of the worries he has, right? He has better things to do. But in the final year, you will get his bandwidth. You also have to learn about taking help when required, right? You have to be able to reach out because before that point on, you are just used to doing everything yourself, right? Or maybe with the help of your friends. But then at that point, there is nobody who could help you, right? There are PhD students. Either you talk to them or maybe the professor. Yeah, you have to take their guidance, and then only you can move forward.
So coming to placements, so one of the most controversial uh, times of IIT as a whole when it comes to news is the placement season. It generally starts in December. In KGP it did. So was it the same for Delhi? How was the occasion like, and how were you preparing for placements? And how was it different? Let's say you had already the example of your friends who were in fourth year had gone through the same grind, and how did it change your approach? And how what was the season like?
Yeah, so it's started from 1st of December for us as well. So that was called the day one, right? And I think now you have day zero as well, which starts in November. And then you have day minus one as well. Like some of the institutes do allow other companies and say that you have a special slot, you can come before if you want. But in our case, it used to be day one from where the thing had started, and you prepare for that day, right? You get to know about various company. You start reading about the job offers, what it constitutes of. Right? You because before that you haven't even heard about those terms, right? They would offer you ESOPs, shares, whatnot. What does it mean, right? Whether do they have any value or not? And yeah, and also a lot of the students who have gone through this, right? Maybe who are already working, they would also provide a lot of guidance. Some used to write some of the they would just publish an ebook like if you want to prepare for coding interview, like these are the topics that you want to read about. If you want to prepare improve your analytical skills, then these are the topics that you should read about, and they used to prepare that material for us to be available, and we used to go there. And I think a very real bad thing had started to happen is that people used to start drive links also, which was shared across IITs during internships and during uh, preparation phase. So whatever questions were asked, it was available to everyone in India. Right? You could just say that this company asks such kind of questions. You just prepare for that. Uh,
Did it help?
yeah. I don't think at the time of placement, yeah, that is not very useful. But yeah, before the placement, you get some questions because there is an online round that you have to
Mhm.
take, right? Online test that you have to take, based on which the company would shortlist you when they come to it. So it's not that everything is unknown at the time of day one. You know for which companies had shortlisted you, for which you have to give interviews, right? So it becomes a question bank in itself, right? You start to see that these are the topics that maybe you are not prepared and try to prepare. That is also one way they help in, but I don't know if we did stumble upon an exact questions or not. I don't think so that was the case. Companies are also smart. They also tend to rotate the questions.
And because you were from a CS computer science background, I'm assuming those were the first students to get placed. And there were other streams which might have struggled a bit because most of the companies that come for placement are looking for technically bright students who can, get in and get started to get their work done. How was it like from a CS point of view versus, let's say, if you see your friends, were there a bit of a struggle there?
Right. In our case, from day one, like most of the software company used to be there on day two.
Hmm.
At least the most popular ones, like Microsoft and Google, are supposed to be there on day one. They used to be there, but other company used to be there in day two. And on day one, there used to be like other banking and financial companies like Goldman and other companies, Tower Research. All of them will be there in day one. So that is the kind of placement used to be there. And definitely, they had a very strict criteria for CGPA, not for the um, stream that you have. Like most of the company, I think would be open to hire any stream if you crack their test or have a good CGPA. So that was not much of a problem. Even if you are interested in a software company and you have done some courses you are interested in, you could get into it if you are prepared. So I think very less of them would have a strict criteria from different branches.
Did you get to see any people struggling to get the placements because there's a lot of demotivation that goes through as well. Because some people will clear it in the first day itself, maybe day two. Some will keep grinding it out, maybe till 5, 6, 7 days, even later the months, or maybe next year as well. There's a whole spectrum. Did you find anything that you learned about the placement season in its totality?
Yeah, in our times the lessons used to be really good.
Hmm.
In the initial days itself, everybody would get it. By the day three, I think almost everybody. There
Hmm.
used to be very less people who I've seen that were there preparing for day four, day five, till day seven as well. Right? I've seen like, but luckily there were not many such examples, I would say. So largely it was used to be a very good season at my time.
So that comes to the end of the second section. I'll move on to the next section, which is life after IIT. So, Nikhil, where are you currently at, in the job, and what is your role?
Yeah, so I'm working as a software engineer. Like no points for guessing that, but I have more than 8 years of experience in the industry. I've been working as a backend engineer, working on backend applications, right, on large scale systems and distributed systems. So I started my career with Bijli Technology, which is a US based startup, and they are into energy data analytics. They create innovative products to cater to utility markets, energy utilities in the US and across the world, and also provide customer engagement solutions to them. So basically, they want to drive energy savings and make sure that the customer are retained by the utilities, because in US you can switch the utilities easily. So all of our product was focused on that. So the initial experience, I think I stuck there for more than I would have liked to. Like I stuck there for more than 4 years, but learning wise, it was a really great place because we had a lot of talented engineers over there who provided a lot of guidance uh, for someone like me who was just starting out. And also there was a lot to be worked upon, right? Because the company is small, there are no boundaries as such. You get to work closely, not as a backend engineer, you're working very closely with the UI engineers. You understand the requirements. You get to work with DevOps as well. right? Maybe you can work with them, work on some of the interesting projects that are there, and then you work with QA, understand the like. So you can contribute anywhere and everywhere you want, and whatever is there, like everything is unknown to you starting out as a fresher in the company. So learning wise was really great. I think a lot of the skills that even I have today were built during that time. I was also getting used to getting a lot of responsibility and being under pressure because after 4 years, I was one of the senior engineers there, which I was not ready for, right? I was like, I did not like to be in that place. I wanted to gain more experience. I was like, this is the very first company. I do not know anything. And a lot of trust and confidence in being put on me. And after one point, it's just the same thing, right? I have learned everything that is there that company had to offer. So I made a decision. Maybe this is the right time to switch because product wise, we are not making any innovation. I've learned the entire stack. So because of the learning opportunity, I made a switch. And definitely at that time, I also because you're making switch, let's just choose a company who are paying good as well. So you start preparing for them. It was during COVID times, I think, that I had started preparing and then made the switch. And then at that point, I joined Rubrik. So Rubrik is into they also cater to enterprises and they provide data backup recovery and uh, uh, cyber security solutions, like providing cyber resiliency in case of any attacks. And we also have a lot of innovative solutions. So there, the learning opportunity is really great because you have a diverse set of products. Nobody can know everything there is to learn about the stack. But yeah, I've still been a part of one of the teams, and I've been part of that since the last 4 years. So I definitely want things to be in the shape that I want. Like I do have some goals, internal goals, not just career goals. I have the goals for the team. So one until and unless that is achieved, I do not want to be like that way. I have a lot of I would say commitment, right? If I'm there, if I have first done my due diligence, I decided that this is where I want to go. I would give my time. 3 or 4 years, not a very large amount of time to make an impact. So yeah, that has been my philosophy from the very start.
Mhm. And also, you had the opportunity, one of the most enviable opportunities for most IITians, which is working at Google. So, how was that experience like, and how did you prepare for, an interview at Google?
Yeah, so I did my third year internship at Google. So it was just as usual. They did came for test. We did it, and then I was shortlisted for interviews with a couple of other people, and then we cracked the interview. So I think I was the first hire for Google that year, and
Mhm.
then uh, I interned in the Google Hyderabad office, and I was the only one from IIT. Everybody else was just from Triple IT Hyderabad, and I used to be bored during my internship because I used to be like, okay, let's go out somewhere on the weekends. Let's see Hyderabad. And everybody was like, we have all seen it all. It's just new to you. So yeah, we used to find people who are there from other college outside Hyderabad so that we can do something over the weekends. Otherwise, it used to get really boring. So yeah, my experience in Google was very exciting because they pamper their employees a lot. They pamper them too much, right? So there's food available 24/7. You are served food 4 times a day, including snacks, right? And food stations are located within 50 steps of your seat. So at one point it's get really bad because people start to overeat, and even if you don't realize it, they start to put even. Some of us had put more than 4 to 5 kgs in 2 months, right? Some of them were like that. But yeah, for the work that we were doing, right, a lot of us did not find it very impressive at the time. We also told it to our peers, which and they did not take in uh, good light. Right? They did also feel offended, but that is how the corporate work. It's not that you are doing any rocket science, right? Uh, at one point when you are in college, right, you think that I will do very innovative work, but that is not the case, right? But yeah, that said, we did want. PPO at that time. So I had a dual degree course, so I was not offered any chance for a PPO at that point because people who had 4 years, they were given a chance and they knew who is going to take their interview. I
Mhm.
think at that time they had a bit easier because you do not have to come back. But for me, it was like I was offered a chance to for the PPO 1 year after that. So you prepare before the placement season, you prepare and give the interview. So at that point, I was invited to Google India office for that interview, and I did not do very well. And even to this day, the questions that I have, I find it very odd. Like I was very prepared for writing some code, but for both of the interview rounds I had, I did not write any code. It
Mhm.
was just a whiteboarding exercise, and I was not very good at it. And even to this day, I find those problems really hard. I have discussed it with multiple people,
Mhm.
but I did think that it was unfair to me at that time compared to the previous. But yeah, with time I got to know more about such questions that these are some of the routine questions that you get asked. So you have to be prepared about it, think out of the box, right? Be well versed in heuristics or come up with the best plan, right? Everything is not so. So the problem that I had, one of them was NP hard problem. There was no solution for it, right? But he was just looking for ideas how I can make it better, and I was not prepared for such a kind of interview at that point. So yeah, definitely I did not do very well back then. Yes. So then I had to sit for the IIT usual IIT placements.
Mhm. And let's say, how did your IIT or the skills that you gained at IIT, how did it help in your corporate life?
Yeah, more than the skills, I think the single largest thing that made an impression and that I also have discussed with my brother is ethics, right? IIT Delhi tends to give a lot of lessons on building some principles around it, right? Do not, you should not copy other works. You should give due credit wherever it's due, right? And plagiarism is not uh, appreciated at all. So that comes uh, that level of ethics do come in handy even in corporate life. I do see that a lot of people do not give credit to their juniors, right? They would just swallow all the credit and they do not realize how do they even feel, right? Even if you are put into that position, they would not even. Maybe I also do incorrect things, but I'm also learning uh, at the same time. And then, so yeah, I would say that is the single largest thing that you know what is right or wrong. You are able to distinguish, and sometimes maybe it does not hurt anyone, and it only you may think that it does not hurt anyone. It just benefits you. Even then, you do not you try to do the right thing. Right? So that is, I think, one of the best things courses that you have in IIT. Right? They do provide a lot of. Some of them are very the building blocks that are essential up to this day. Right? You start with uh, learning about coding, right? You like no language is taught in IIT, right? In another course we were taught, but we were supposed to do those projects in this language or that language, and at the time you learn to how to learn quickly, right? So that is something that goes a long way, even if you're working right as a software engineer. It's not like whatever you have been doing or whatever there is in the resume, you are supposed to do that. The resume just establishes that you can get work done or stuff done, right? So if you have done it in the past, your track records prove that you can do it in future as well. So uh, given that in mind, you get an opportunity, you get the job, but after that, it will be completely different that you might have worked on, right? And you are supposed to be able to learn and do well there also, because once you are there in the work, it's all everything is about money, right? If you are dealing effort or you're not able to get things done, you cannot make any excuses that this was hard, this was not possible, right? You are losing money, and if the company is not doing well, you are not going to do well. So that is one thing that you get to learn about. And also, a lot of the courses would just provide a lot of glimpse, right? What databases are like. You get interested into database. I was particularly interested into database and networking concepts. Some of the courses expose us to computer architecture and then cybersecurity as well, right? So then you can take a call in which is the field that interests me, where I want to go when I start out my career. So that is where they help a lot. But yeah, definitely nowadays this information is available easily on YouTube. In our days, that was not the case. You had to go there, because at that point you wouldn't even know what to, even if that material had been available, we don't know what you have to do, right? Nowadays you can see what is the IIT curriculum, what is it taught. You can just spin up the best teachers and see their videos.
And any suggestions for students who are currently at IIT or they are aspiring to be, selected at these golden institutes? How they should be preparing themselves? How do they cope up with the information overload that is prevalent at this time compared to our times, which was mostly dial-up internet? And how do they, navigate this properly?
Yeah, it's really sad that people still aspire to just be an IIT. Like, I
Mhm.
think that having very limited institution for such a large country is not to be a good place in, right? People should be aspiring beyond. Even the current ID, you would see they are not doing good in the global rankings. We can always comment on the global ranking being biased, but we do know for a fact that the research being done in these colleges is not up to the par, and they do not get the funds they require, right? As an IITian, you start to associate yourself with that brand. You see that it's a very big brand, and something that lakhs and crores of people are just aspiring to, and you are one of the lucky ones that got that brand. And you do not want that brand to be diluted. At our time, they were just big 7 institutes, and then later on more were added, right? So at the time, everybody was like, even I was like, why do they want to dilute it? They, even the current institute are not doing good. Why do they want to add more such institutes, right? But then fact of the matter, you have to build. There is a lack of good colleges, right? And private colleges have just created a business out of it, right? And they are not providing uh, any kind of value, right? With IIT, you know that you are at least qualified to do some work, right? Maybe you are not doing any research, but whatever you have learned, it still holds. Even if you are learning very old concepts, you do learn a lot about them, and you can apply, you can really get a good job. So I would say this is something not to aspire for, right? IIT is not the only thing, but the sad thing, if people who have limited means, they cannot aspire for more than this, right? Uh, they cannot go outside country, and even if they could, they wouldn't want their children to be sent, right? Many of them would not want. They would want that there are, and for that matter, even sharp minds, even intelligent people, because it's competition, right? I've seen that the person who used to perform very well in our coaching institute, right, who used to be a topper, did not get a very good rank in IT. He had to drop and prepare for one more day. So it's just a waste of 1 year, right? He was qualified. He could, if he would have gotten into any colleges, he would have done much better, right? He would have contributed to the society instead of just doing one more year of preparation. Um, but yeah, initially it does provide a lot of jump to you get a very good career opportunity. So still to this day, a drop year is fine, right? Many people tend to do that. If they are not able to qualify in the first 2 years, they will take, and add some, for some of the people it might not be the best of circumstance. For me, and like, there was no expectation for me, right? You just have to do study and do very well, and everything was provided. But some people might not be that lucky. They might have uh, limited resources, and in that case they might have to put one more year. So I would say it is fine. Just keep confidence in your capability and keep your head on, right? Do not get distracted, right? And then focus on your studies. Work hard, because hard work pays a lot. It's not just about, like, I've seen in my life that I've gotten more than what I have put in the work for it. How much, like, I've always gone multifold. Like, there is always a multiplier effect as you grow, and you get better results than the hard work you do. And then it's not just about the goal that you achieve, but also about building a discipline. You try to improve about it. You just look inward. What am I doing wrong? How I can improve it, right? Instead of getting distracted. So that also uh, gives a lot of value to you, I would say. Uh, did I answer your question?
Yeah,
I think
actually.
I took it in a very different direction. But yeah, my expectation is within a decade or so, there should be really good institutes. I think
Apart from
government,
IIT. Yeah.
yes, government has tried to build some more IITs and triple IT. They are in the right direction, but some more funding and is definitely required for research and building such institutions. Right, basic facilities should have to be available in those And then we have the talent here itself, right? The people who are getting educated, a lot of them are interested in teaching. They become professors, so there would be any dearth of good teachers or information. So that is available, but yeah,
Mhm.
government has to provide that necessary infrastructure.
Mhm.
But up till then, sadly, IIT is the only thing that they have to strive for. Even if they do not make to IIT at this point, triple IITs are also a good option, and IT is also a good option. I would say do not be do not take it to your ego if you do not get to IIT. Even if you get these two other colleges, then go ahead and move on with your life, right? It's much better to learn, have one more year of experience in real world than just be there in your room and keep on studying the same facts.
Okay, how do you see the future of, let's say, education, in fact, IT preparation or any education for that matter? How do you see it changing with the advent of AI? Does AI feature into the curriculum, or does it help, students learn things quicker, or how do they, affect our lives? Because this is going to be a big topic in this decade. Sundar
Yeah,
Pichai described it as the fire or the invention of fire in our community. So, how do you see it changing how we prepared versus how the students will be preparing in the coming decade?
right. So AI definitely provides first of all, it just provides a new stream, right? An
Mhm.
interesting stream for people to pursue, right? Like India has always been lagging in, uh, like a lot of us do not want to take risks, like whatever is established, right? Earlier in olden days, mechanical engineering was a proven thing. So you just take mechanical engineering, do not strive for computer science. Now computer science and other streams are providing good job opportunity. You just stick to that. You do not want to explore any new opportunity, any risky opportunity. But that is not the case with AI. It's just you first have to be a good engineer, be software engineer, and then you get to learn about it. So it's good that this information is equally and equitably available to everyone, right? Anybody can access and learn about it if it interests you. Definitely, India would also require a lot of its people to be well versed in these technologies and build new products instead of just working on the products built by others.
Mhm.
So that is one thing. But as the current in the current form, right? We have GPT or Gemini. That so I think it's a very useful tool. They are a very useful tool, right? As an like you can use them as an assistant. You are not going paying any salary to them. It's
Mhm.
available for you almost free, and you can take a lot of advantage out of it, right? If you want to prepare get any summary prepared, you want to take mock interviews, you can do that. It can help you think outside the box. You can just quickly get any information very quickly, and it keeps all of that in a context, right? So if you are trying to work on a problem, then it will help you to solve it out. It will provide you the necessary hint, right? Not more, not less. So you can tune it to your needs. So all of that is really useful. Instead of getting distracted by creating random images or throwing away your time playing with it, you just use it. You just treat it as your slave. This is the only like yeah. So I would say like technology, like it's for the phones, right? You can either get distracted, waste your time, just pass your time, or you can use it for your own benefit. So it's up to you how somebody use it. But yeah, as of now, I think it's indispensable. Even for me in day-to-day life, it provides me a lot of value. It saves a lot of my time, and I think it will be really difficult if this goes away for me to
Mhm. It has
be as
fundamentally
productive.
changed our lives in a way.
Yes, my productivity will definitely take a hit at this
Mhm.
point, right? So yeah, that is how I see it.
With that, we come to the end of that section, live after IIT. So we'll go on to the next, which is rapid fire. A few questions and whatever the first thought you have in mind, you can blurt it out. Um, no exams, no pressure. So first question is favorite subject as a student before IIT.
Mathematics.
Okay, very common answer. Were you interested
Mathematics,
at all with
basic,
other subjects apart from science?
basically before. college you get to know about that whatever you're reading, right, or whatever you're learning is not mathematics actually. It's just simple computation that you're doing.
Mhm.
Mathematics is something that you get to know about in IIT, and
Mhm.
it's that is really hard. So once you get to know about it, it's not your favorite subject anymore. But before that, definitely
Mhm. And now at IIT, who was your favorite professor?
favorite professor. That's a tough one. Yeah, but Huzur Saran was the HOD at my time, and I definitely liked his teaching style. Uh, so yeah, he was the one
What
of the.
course did he teach?
He taught one course on cybersecurity, and that is the one I liked his style of how he created the course and also how he taught. He took daily lectures also. Right? So that
Okay.
was very entertaining. It was used to be like you wouldn't get bored while listening to him,
Mhm.
even if he is just talking about very simple stuff.
Was that also your favorite course at IIT?
Mm, yeah, it was one of the course that intrigued me. But yeah, databases was one of the my favorite course because that interests me a lot, and that is where I got to know about them and how, like not the professor particularly, but definitely the course.
Most enjoyable year at IIT? First,
Yeah,
say like if
definitely the last one.
any particular reason?
Yeah, like I said, that you everything is done like whatever you're supposed to be, whatever you expect. You have met all your expectation from yourself, right? And after the placement, you have good amount of money in my case in hand because the stipend and also a lot of free time. You can explore IT, you can think about other things. You are excited about what future has to, you know. So everything every day you wake up with a very good mood. So that in itself creates a better day for you.
Hmm. Most confusing year at IIT?
Yeah, like I said, the second year you just have half knowledge.
Hmm.
At times you are confused, and at times you know you are not.
Favorite lingo at IIT Delhi? I think Delhi in itself could be a very controversial topic as to what constitutes a lingo, but was it a separate lingo in IIT especially?
Yeah, there used to be some word that some like I have mostly tried to not use them. Definitely, you tend to overuse it at the time, but now I don't think I use any of them at all. Most like I'm a professional now. I am into this corporate life, so I do not do that. But yeah, some of the
Favorite corporate lingo then?
chill mar, like do not take stress. All is well. So the translation for all is well was just chill mar.
So with that, we come to an end of this episode. It has been a very fun, entertaining, enlightening episode. We got to learn about IT life, corporate life as well, and with this responsible child. So again, this has been IT podcast with your host Somnath signing off.